Bob's Breakfast.
The most embarrassing professional moment of my life. Good morning, I'm Graham Mack. I've just come back from Chicago, and it was a convention of radio shows, breakfast shows from around the world. And, I've been to the States quite a bit, and I've met some of the shows, and I kind of know some of who's in what cities, because you get shows that kind of own a city. So if you were to say to me, San Diego, I'd go, oh, Jeff and Jazz show is on in San Diego. Or Seattle, I'd say, oh, Bob Rivers show. Dallas would be the Kid Craddock show. And I happen to know that in Houston, Texas, the show that kind of owns Houston is Ruler and Ryan in the morning. Anyway, I'm at this convention and I sit down on this table and this bloke comes and he sits next to me. And I look at him and say, hey, I'm Graham Mack. I'm from England. Where are you from? And he said, Houston. And I said, oh, Houston. Do you compete against Ruler and Ryan? And he said, no, I'm Ryan. Let's get the latest news with Chris Hubbard.
Airport retailers have been accused of misleading travellers by claiming millions back in VAT without passing the savings on to passengers.
Ooh, who's criticising them? It better not be the government.
It's one of the newspapers.
One of the newspapers,
yeah.
Okay.
This is the Independent.
Well, you can't be criticising the businesses, because businesses are businesses. And one of the things when you're in business, one of the major things is look for opportunities where you can increase profit. And I bet they're not breaking any rules.
Absolutely not.
So
they're not breaking any rules at all.
Stop criticising the retailers. They're just playing the game. Start criticising the people who are in government who have these slack rules. The government are winding me up with this corporation tax. When they singled out a load of companies. I'm not going to name them. We know who they are.
Yep.
Who are not paying according to the government, their fair share of corporation tax. Because they're paying none. Because they've worked out their profit and loss system and offshore and all the rest of it. And the government is saying, we're going to go after them. Instead of changing the rules. Look, if you build a public drinking fountain, they're going to drink from it. If you don't want them to drink from it, build a wall in front of it. Spider-geddon! Yes, Chris Hubbard brought us the news earlier that mouse-sized giant spiders are invading their home counties. Please be careful. Like to get your report. What unusual spider activity have you noticed? Jim?
I can always tell when there's been a spider in my house because I've come home and there's a big pile of shoes in the corner where my wife has been throwing shoes at it all day long.
Throwing shoes at it from a distance. She wants to kill it, but she doesn't want to get too close.
Bob's Breakfast.
Parents have been taken to court because their kids aren't showing up to school. Parents who think it's a good idea to take their kids out of class to go on family holiday somewhere, that's also being included in these figures as well.
This is just a symptom of the whole problem. The whole problem is a lack of gratitude and a feeling of entitlement. Now, the whole idea of freedom is that you should take it for granted. But it goes too far when you get to entitlement. Do you know how many people don't get the kind of free education that you're offered, in a free education in this country to set you up for life, a free school education, to take that for granted and go, I'm entitled to save £100 on my holiday? I mean, how much do you care about your kids' education if it's all about just saving a few £100 on a holiday? Go at peak time and spend the extra money. You won't have your kids forever. They only get one chance to be educated. It's a symptom of a bigger problem. And trust me, if you don't have gratitude, you can't be happy. But because you can't enjoy or be happy, but if you're not grateful. And if you feel entitled, you will never be happy. Because if you get it, well, you get it. You're entitled to it. If you don't get it, then you're really unhappy. Being entitled is a recipe for unhappiness. And this is the whole problem, is this culture of entitlement. And it's just messing with everything. Good morning. I'm Graham Mack. Cilla Black's funeral. Did you see any of it? I got to admit, I wasn't sure about Cliff's song. I tell you who I did think did do a great job, and that was Paul O'Grady. I thought he was just fab.
If you said to me, what do you think about Cilla? One word, laughter, because that's all we did. We just laughed constantly. We got up to a lot of trouble, I'll admit, but we laughed while we were doing it. You know, I remember losing her keys and getting wedged in a window in Barbados with me holding her ankles. And when the neighbours came out, she shouted, "Supplies, supplies!"
Paul O'Grady at Cilla Black's funeral. So there was a lot of laughter there because she was a very loved person. Now, I don't want to get all morbid about this, but the truth is, none of us are going to last forever. And you know when you see, like, on a gravestone or something, it's got, like, the year of the birth and then the year of the death. And then in between there's a dash. That dash is your entire life. That's it. That little dash there. That's where we are right now. We're a dash. So it's kind of important that we leave a mark of some kind. What would you like people to say about you when you're gone? Because if you think about that now and again, it might just influence some of your decisions on what you say, how you behave, who you talk to, who you try to get even with. I don't know. It could help us all out. It could make us all have a better day. So what would you like people to say about you after you're gone? Sam?
I would want them to say she loved her family, her fiancé, and her friends. But most of all, could you ever get that microphone out of her hands? No, she loved that most. The show must go on.
So when are you grabbing this microphone, Sam?
I grab a microphone most Friday or Saturday nights.
Are we talking karaoke here?
We're talking singing with a band.
Singing with a band? What's the band called?
It's a local band, Deco to Smile.
Deco to Smile. You do originals?
Deco to Smile.
Original or covers?
Covers. Yeah,
What?
pop rock.
What's your big hit?
Shout by Lulu.
Give us a bit of shout.
Oh my goodness.
We'll never forget Sam. Thank you so much, Sam.
Bob's Breakfast.
£188 million is how much one council has spent on a new state-of-the-art library. It's been criticised, though, after it ran out of money and asked the public to donate books. Bearing in mind, they spent £188 million on this new building.
Wow.
This is in Birmingham.
We don't need libraries anymore. They're an outdated concept. All the information that was held in libraries is now online. And online, it's more up to date. I mean, if people are donating reference books, they'll be donating we know more about Pluto. We found out more about Pluto in the last 2 weeks, which is all that information's online than we have in all those years. If you donate a book to the library, it probably has Pluto as a full-blown planet. We all know it's been a dwarf planet for at least 10 years now. Yeah. The information in books is out of date. Online is way better. There is an obsession with libraries, though, and books. Books are outdated. I don't even like books anymore. I don't read books. I read ebooks. I got my different apps on my phone. In fact, I've always got a book on the go. And I've just read the one all about how it was Lyndon Johnson that organised the plot to kill JFK in 1963. I read that one. But I don't normally read novels. I'm reading a novel at the moment. I'm reading the first James Bond book, Casino Royale.
Oh, really?
On my phone. It's fantastic. I don't need to go to a library to get that. It cost about £4 downloaded onto the phone. And when it's done, it's not going to wreck the environment. No trees died either for me to read my James Bond book. So this obsession, 188 million for a building full of old books that have been donated by people in Birmingham? No, thank you. Talking about this story, this kid who got his head stuck in a potty. There's 2 great reasons why you shouldn't put your head in a potty. Number 1 and number 2s. But anyway, he did. And the fire brigade were called to release him. I'd like to know about getting stuck stories. A lot of them have been kids. Sammy?
No, I wasn't a child, but I was acting like one.
Yeah.
Went down to the local park after a few drinks in the evening.
Mm.
When I was about 20. My brother and a few mates were there and decided that it'd be a really good idea to get in one of the baby swings.
Mm-hmm.
So once I tried to get out, I realised that I couldn't.
Right.
So we were there for about 15 minutes. In the end, had to call the fire brigade. They managed to get me out in the end without cutting it, but it did take a while. So that was quite embarrassing.
But you got to have some firemen tend to you. That
I did, yeah. I have to say I would do it all over again.
All right, okay, thank you, Sammy. All right.
Andy Burnham's won the backing of the Mirror newspaper in his attempt to become the next Labour leader. Earlier, The Guardian came out in support of Yvette Cooper, who says she offers a real change.
To get Labour's first elected woman leader and first woman Prime Minister as well. Who is really the radical, Jeremy or me?
Thanks a lot, Chris. Yvette Cooper, so her whole thing, the whole campaign is that she's a woman. That's it? Is that all she's got?
I'm guessing there must be more than that.
But that's all she's saying in that soundbite. I mean, yeah. I think that's kind of sad. That's all she's saying. Her point of difference between her and the other fellow is that she's a woman. Well, we're not silly. We'd worked that out. Can you believe that council in Birmingham wasted 188 million quid on a library? Of all things to waste money on, a blinking library in the 21st century when we've got the internet? A library? Who needs a library? They had no money left for the books. They had to get the local residents to donate books. Well, that wouldn't have been hard. No one wants books anymore. Not now we've got the internet. Saves throwing them away or putting them in the recycling or setting fire to them. So at least there was something. They at least created a depository for unwanted and useless books. Books are out of date. Libraries are out. What a waste of money. Every time I have this conversation with someone and I tell them how we don't need books and we don't need libraries anymore, it'll be such a compelling argument. I'll win. And this is how you know you've won an argument, is when the person says, we'll agree to disagree. That means you won. That means they lost. I mean, why would you go for the draw if you'd won? You're going for the draw there. It's because you lost. It's always the same way. Blinking libraries. Let's knock them all down. We don't need libraries. We don't need books. It's always, who's on the phone? Sharon. You put Sharon through. Hello, Sharon.
Oh, Graham, I can't believe you're dissing libraries.
What's the point of them?
Oh, it encourages children to read books.
I reckon it puts people...
Really...
I think it puts people off reading books. And when I was a kid, the library was this stuffy place where people went, shh. Yeah, the coolest thing is the stuff I can read on my iPhone and my iPad. That's really cool. That encourages kids to read, not those stuffy institutions. The only good thing about there's two great things about libraries. Number one, they've usually got a pretty clean toilet. If you're ever stuck, you can go to the library. And the other thing, they've often got Wi-Fi, so you can get online.
I totally understand what you're saying,
yes,
but too many children are on devices these days, and to take them away from the devices so that they can just enjoy without having to be stimulated with technology and get so much enjoyment out of a paper book, I totally disagree with you.
How is a paper book... Right, I'm reading James Bond Casino Royale on my phone, on my Kindle app on my phone. How would it be more enjoyable if it was in the paper book? If I was reading it in the paper book?
No, for you it wouldn't, but for kids, to try and move them away from technology.
But why do we want to move them away from technology? Technology is the future. We need to move them towards technology, get them as comfortable as we can with technology. That's their future. There won't be any more books in 10 years' time. Why? You might as well teach them to learn from stone tablets. Books are finished. They're over. If
you speak to a child psychologist, they will say.
Are you a child psychologist, Sharon?
No, but I have a number of friends who are.
You can't. All right. A child psychologist, ring up now. Tell me why reading a paper book is a better experience, better for a child than reading it off an iPad or a Kindle Fire or an iPhone. There'll be no books soon, and books are bad for the environment. Trees have to die. E-books are way better. Way better in every way. In fact, if there's a word in the ebook that I don't understand, I click it and it gives me the definition. So I'm learning, my vocabulary is being expanded. If I'm reading a paper book and there's a word I don't understand, that word stays misunderstood. Ebooks are better in every way.
I'm not saying they're not, but what about those people who can't afford them?
It's cheaper to buy my Casino Royale by Ian Fleming cost me £4 to download on Kindle. If I was to buy a paper book, that would cost me at least twice that. So it's actually cheaper.
For free.
Well, what the hell would I go to the library? No, the library is another stuffy place, and I'd probably catch some disease off somebody who's read it. But no, I'm Sharon. I'm not with you. I'm sorry.
We're going to have to agree to disagree.
Soft touch and hazardous doctors need to be disciplined for giving us too many antibiotics.
Antibiotics are not as effective as they used to be. And they're saying that's because the bugs are becoming resistant to the antibiotics. That's the facts. The next bit, I don't think are facts at all. I think a conclusion has been reached. I don't know why, but I will tell you why antibiotics are not as effective, is because antibiotics are in our food. Antibiotics go into the food that the animals eat that we are fed. Antibiotics have been fed to farm animals, and now antibiotics are less effective because we're eating antibiotics every day. That's sinister. It's downright frightening that the government has not done enough to regulate this and now cause a problem. So they're looking for a scapegoat, and the scapegoat is overprescribing doctors. I cannot remember the last time I was given antibiotics by a doctor.
I can't either.
We are not being given antibiotics by doctors. What is happening is we're eating food that is full of antibiotics. And this story, I am sure, is a smokescreen to stop the mass panic that should be going on right now, because our food is full of antibiotics, and now antibiotics are not working. Oh, what's this I got here? Oh, it's the new One Direction calendar. That's weird. And it goes up to March.
The Treasury's going to pocket millions of pounds in VAT from a new 5p charge on plastic bags. From October, all large retailers will charge shoppers 5p for a plastic bag. The majority of this will go towards charitable causes.
Yeah, will it now?
But a paper released by the government yesterday revealed the taxman will pocket around about a penny in VAT for every bag sold. The idea, it's been presented, is to reduce the use of plastic carry bags.
It won't. This plastic bag one really annoys me, because these plastic bags are devastating. They have a devastating effect on the environment. Sea turtles ingest them. It's bad for fisheries. They don't biodegrade. They're awful. And we need to blame the supermarkets because they don't give you a choice. They don't say paper or plastic. They just say this one, and then they charge you extra for the bag.
That's right, yeah.
A bag you don't want. But if you haven't brought your blinking hippie bag, if you're on your way home from work and just want to pick some stuff up and you haven't made a shopping expedition, you're forced to pay for something you simply don't want. Nobody in their right mind would prefer a bag that destroys the environment over one that doesn't. Nobody, whether you're an environmentalist or not, nobody wants us to poo in our own nest. We're the only animal that does that. So instead of the government saying to the supermarket, hey, enough with these plastic bags, biodegradable ones, please. And if you don't do that, if you don't do it voluntarily, we're going to legislate that you can't give these things out. That's all they have to do. But no, they see money in it. They see tax. So they get the people to charge 5p for the bag, and of course VAT is 20%. The government gets a little taste. Everybody gets to wet their beak. So the government profits from the sea turtles dying and the environment being ruined.
It's interesting.
The government profits from it. And along the way, they twist it round to make you feel like it's your fault because you didn't take a canvas hippie bag with you. It's not your fault. It's the supermarket's fault. And it's all being twisted to put the blame on you, and then the government then trying to make you think that they're doing the right thing, when in fact they're just grabbing more tax from you. You lose, you lose, you lose. The supermarkets win. The government wins. You lose, you lose, you lose. But you're being made to look like you're the villain. You're not the one forcing
dangerous, environmental, disastrous bags on the British public. The supermarkets are, and the government are doing nothing about it except seeing a chance to make money out of it. Disgraceful.
Seemingly, the government still wants us to have these plastic bags around.
The government wants us to have these plastic bags. The government wants to destroy the environment and wants to blame you for not going to the trouble of taking the hippie bag. And no one is doing a damn thing about it. We're letting the supermarkets get away, literally, with murder. Conflicting health advice in this morning's papers. The Independent says a daily walk can add years to your life. The Daily Mail says a daily nap prevents heart attacks. So it looks like if you want to stay healthy, you should be sleepwalking. Chris Hubbard with your news.
E-cigarettes should be available on the NHS. Public health officials have said despite
No,
conflicting
they
evidence over their
shouldn't.
safety. Why not?
Because it's not the NHS's fault that you're an idiot. If you smoke, you're an idiot. If you want to stop smoking, you stop smoking. You don't need e-cigarettes and our tax to pay for you to have e-cigarettes instead of I'm an addict, I'm addicted to smoking. Where? I'm sick of people whining. Get on with it and stop. If you want to continue to commit suicide by smoke, then continue. Don't let me get in your way, because that way you'll be paying lots of tax into the system by buying the cigarettes. Keep going, knock yourself out, kill yourself.
This government
If you want to give up, stop smoking. I'm Graham Mack, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, make sure you share it on Facebook and Twitter, and you can subscribe at iTunes. Chris, this dementia and Alzheimer's thing, so they're saying that fears that the numbers were increasing.
Yes. Yeah. In UK, Western Europe may have been exaggerated. They've looked again at the number of people over the age of 65 with the condition, and also compared to some of the forecasts, and actually found it was a fifth lower than the numbers they were expecting.
Well, that sounds like good news. Of course, it doesn't make any difference at all if a family member has it and you're dealing with it. Timing of this is a bit weird. 2 weeks ago, I'm on the phone to my mother. And I knew my old man had been losing his marbles, and he was being tested for Alzheimer's, and she'd got the results. And I said, look, how did it go? She said, yeah, he's got it. He's got Alzheimer's disease. Now, the scary thing for me is his younger brother's been diagnosed with it too.
Right.
And his two sisters, before they died, they had it. So I'm thinking, it's in the family. So I said to Julie, I said, you better make me an appointment at the doctor's. I should at least talk to the doctor about, the chances and if there's anything I can do and, all the rest of it. So I'm Monday just gone. I'm looking through my diary at stuff to do at about lunchtime, and I see doctor's appointment. And I'm like, I'd forgotten about it.
Right.
Well, now I'm really freaked out. So the appointment's about 4:30, so I'm home about 4:15. Julie comes home, and I'm on my way out, and she said, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to the doctor's. She said, you got a doctor's appointment? I thought, thank God she's forgotten as well.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered his frontline troops to be on a war footing. State media is saying after an exchange of fire with the south across the heavily fortified border as well. Now, bizarrely, this all kicked off as a result of South Korean propaganda messages being broadcast across the border using loudspeakers.
Now, the south, they're the normal ones. The north, they're the crazy ones.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just in case you didn't know which was which. The north is the bloke with the bad haircut.
That's right.
The south, the southern Korean leader, I couldn't tell you what he looks like.
No.
We never see him.
Absolutely. I know, one of my friends lives in South Korea.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a lovely place. Actually, supposed to be quite advanced. They've got a lot of Wi-Fi, broadband, the whole thing, and they make some cracking cars. Those you drive a South Korean car, don't you? Drive a Hyundai? Yeah, Hyundai, Kia, they're good cars, good value. So South Korea is very, shall we say, Western, or does that sound
I don't know,
No,
long.
I think that's fair because my friend does a English language program on South Korean TV.
Right, okay. So
I mean,
South Korea, they're the normal ones.
Yeah.
North Korea, they're the crazy ones. And North Korean leader, the one with the bad haircut, Kim Jong-un, always wearing that black coat and looking through binoculars. We don't know what at. Maybe he's looking at South Korea. But now it was the South that were playing this loud propaganda.
That's right, yes.
Now that sounds odd because that sounds like if you said one of the Koreas has got speakers up and is playing propaganda to the other side, which one would it be? You'd go, oh, it's got to be the North.
Yeah.
It's got to be the North. No, it's the South. So maybe the South are a little bit loony as well.
Well, South Korea were given until 5 o'clock on Saturday night to dismantle these
Turn
propaganda
it down!
speak-
Turn it down! Don't make me get my machine. Turn it down! Don't let me get my... I'm not afraid to use this artillery. Turn it down!
It does sound a little bit like an argument between
It's a
two
neighbourhood.
flat owners.
It's a neighbourhood dispute.
Yes.
Between two people who in a neighbourhood who don't get on. They have vastly different political views, and one of them spouting his over the fence. Turn it down!
And you've got Mad Dog in the flat below.
Yes.
Would that be fair to say?
I don't know why they do. Who would mess with North Korea? Who would mess with Kim Jong-un? Because he has a track record. He executes his own people who he doesn't like. These are his well, they're in his office, aren't they? They're kind of his henchmen. His henchmen,
family members.
Family members. Yeah. Anybody that works for him, which was his family, that he doesn't get on with, he executes them. If he doesn't like their work, he executes them. And you're messing with him? Of course, he has been executing the wrong people. I mean, he should start with his barber.
Bob's Breakfast.
A 25-metre swimming pool linking the tops of two 10-storey towers.
I've
is going to
seen
be
this
built in London.
Isn't this cool? It's like 2 blocks of flats. I don't know. It must be blocks of flats rather than office blocks. You wouldn't have a swimming pool in an office block, would you?
These are going to be luxury ones.
Yeah. And it's like a glass, like a square tube, I suppose you'd call it. Like it's a glass channel, basically linking the 2 blocks of flats. Looks like about 20 floors up, maybe higher.
About 115 feet high.
Wow. And you'll be able to swim from one block to the other. And you look down at the bottom through the you'll see the ground 100 odd feet below you. Mm-hmm. Wow, I think it's cool. I showed Julie, I said, look at that, isn't that cool? She said, no, it's scary.
I quite like the look of it. What
I like
experience.
it. Yeah.
It would allow swimmers to peer down on passers-by down below. The whole idea has been dreamt up by a firm which worked with Apple on the design of its stores around the world. They're going to engineer the project.
Yeah, I heard Apple are very excited about this because up to 20 swimmers at a time can swim in this pool, which is more people than bought the Apple Watch.
Bob's Breakfast.
Airport security. Don't get me started. People in the queue that go too fast, right? People, you have to take your shoes off. Yeah, I have to take my jacket off, and I have a system. I take my laptop because I usually travel now with only cabin baggage. I've got it right. I only go on short trips, and I get it down, so I don't have to check anything in. It means when I get off at the other end, I go straight out. I don't have to wait for the, baggage roulette.
That's the dream.
Yes, right. It's I've got it down. I have my laptop. I open my case. I take my laptop out. I put it in a separate bin. I have no liquids on the way back. How about that for a trick? On the way out, I have like shampoo and shaving foam and whatever, and I have them in small bottles, and wherever I go, I leave them there. I don't bring them back. I just leave them there.
It's a good trick.
Right? So on the way back, it's super efficient. I take the laptop out, I put it in the thing, I got my jacket off, I put my phone and my wallet in the pockets of the jacket, put the jacket down, it goes through, I come out the other end, I put the jacket on, then remove everything out of my pocket, put my belt back on, all the rest of it, and I'm set to go. But the thing that messes it up is the person directly behind me doesn't wait. They don't wait. They start taking their clothes off before they've got anywhere to put them down. So they're hanging on to their coats and jackets and shoes and all kinds of things. They try to grab a bin before I'm done. Because you got to grab those bins from under the thing to put the thing in.
That's the single most irritating thing. People trying to reach over. And
Wait till I'm done.
Yeah.
Wait till my stuff's gone through, and then you can go. We're not going any faster here. It still has to go through the X-ray process. So we're not going to. But the way that and honestly, and you go in that thing, and there's the
It's just like being cattle in those pens that you go through first. It's awful. Getting on a plane is awful. And since they've started this, not a single bomb has been found. Not one. In all the airports around the world, all the millions of people that fly, they've never found a single piece of explosives by using this system. Never once. It's never happened. It's just a nightmare. Now, the problem is with terrorism, with terrorists, is you can't kill them because they want to die. They want the, whatever it is, 72 virgins and all that. That's why they have suicide bombers. So you can't say, stop being a terrorist or we'll kill you. What they should say is, when they convict a terrorist, they should make them spend their life going through airport security.
One little boy in America is showing maybe the spoiled brats of this world how to accept a gift with true gratitude. His father deliberately gave him the gift of an avocado for his birthday. He'd been teaching his son about good manners. He explained that even when you've got a bad gift, you have to pretend to enjoy it.
So he taught the kid how to lie and how to be dishonest.
Later, he gave the boy an avocado for his birthday. This is what happened in return.
The avocado! Thanks!
You could almost see the little boy kind of getting really disappointed, even though he said, it's an avocado, thanks, and tried to sound excited about it. I mean, you have to do that so much in life anyway, so you
might as well get used to it, kid, because once you're older, you're going to get... Women think that giving socks as a gift is okay. Ladies, we never want socks. When we say, oh, wow, thank you, we're lying. We never want socks. How would it be if we bought you a pair of tights for Christmas? Hey? It's quite the tragedy in America at that TV station, Chris. Goodness me.
Absolutely horrific. Yeah.
I mean, just shot in cold blood, premeditated, planned. He even put pictures of him doing it on Facebook and Twitter. I see those accounts have been cancelled now.
It was video footage as well, wasn't it? It was just awful.
When is America going to sort out its gun laws? Because they're the only place. There's a 14-year-old schoolboy held his classmates to hostage yesterday. That story, at gunpoint, that story was buried by this one. And the same day the guy was convicted from 3 years ago of shooting the people in that cinema.
Yes.
It's just out of control. And as Obama said in the clip you played, more Americans are killed by Americans than terrorists.
Yes.
You know, in these gun...
But bizarrely, that's the first time that anybody we've kind of heard prominently say that.
Yes. That's because Obama is a Democrat, because the Republicans are bunged a lot of money from the NRA, the National Rifle Association in America, which is very Republican and very powerful. And Americans don't want you to take their guns off them because of the Second Amendment of the Constitution, which gives them the right to bear arms. So they feel it's a birthright as being an American, and if you take that away, they will be less American.
Do you
complete
remember
nonsense?
Recently, Piers Morgan, whether you love him or hate him, had an argument with somebody on a US TV show about this very thing, and he was hung out to dry by the Americans as a result of this.
Oh, yeah, well, it basically finished Piers Morgan off in America, to be fair. Piers Morgan didn't really recover from that. His contract wasn't renewed, and it's cost him millions. Have you looked into this Second Amendment, what it actually says?
What does it actually say?
It actually says... the right of the people, I'm reading word for word from the US Constitution, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, on the face of it, that looks like all American citizens have the right to carry a gun for personal protection. But like all things, it's about the context. The quote, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, is only the second half of the sentence.
Oh.
The full sentence is, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the American people to bear arms shall not be infringed. So it's not just the context, but also the content. The well-regulated militia. Now, why would it say something like that? Well, the Second Amendment was adopted on the 15th of December, 1791. A different time.
Yeah.
Different circumstances. Different weapons. Success in the Revolutionary War had helped America's founding fathers realise the need for firearms. A faraway government, Britain, had imposed taxes without representation. Armed citizens had fought for the right to form their own government. Armed citizens. It was a revolution. So it was armed citizens. So it's more likely that this bit of the Constitution wanted guns to be available so they could do the same again. Not to protect themselves personally. It's got nothing to do with that. Because there was all sorts back then in 1791, all kinds of territorial disputes with the native people because they'd stolen their land.
Yeah.
All kinds of different violent groups and whatever. And the most high-tech weapon of the day, when it was written, was a musket. You shoot somebody with a musket. First of all, they're not accurate.
Yes.
And secondly, if you want to reload, it takes you about 2 minutes because you've got a little powder bag and a ramrod and a ball and all that. It's not these automatic weapons. You go bang, 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 bang and just take people out. It was completely different. Unless they apply the law to the weapons of the day, the law is completely out of date. But then Americans will say, well, you can't change it because it's in the Constitution. It's the Constitution. Yes, it's the Second Amendment. So the Constitution was changed. It was amended. There's no reason why it can't be amended again.
106 Bob FM.
California father of 3 is in a serious way after trying to take a selfie with a rattlesnake. This guy decided to pick up the snake to have his selfie taken with him. Consequently, the snake bit him.
Of course it did.
Previous encounters recently of people taking dangerous selfies as well. Do you remember recently there was a woman who took a picture with a bison at Yellowstone National Park?
Yes.
She was standing with her back to the bison when it decided to charge, tossed her up into the air, and she was left injured as a result of that. It was the 5th bison attack in a matter of months. So people over in America at the moment being told to stop taking selfies with bison, to stop taking selfies with rattlesnakes, and stop taking selfies with bears as well.
People have to be told this.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't take a selfie with a bear. It'll only end in tears.
I took a selfie on the weekend. I don't know if you saw it on my Twitter feed of me with something very scary.
Something very scary.
I was at the Tate Modern.
Oh, yes.
And I took a picture of me with a Picasso of a reclining nude.
Yes.
And it was your typical Picasso. She had a nose facing east and eyes facing west and whatever. But she reminded me of when I was single and drinking. I'm pretty sure I woke up with her one morning.
So Downing Street's revealed 45 new piers are dominated by MPs, local councillors, political advisors as well, one of which is Lord Moat. Who's been picked up on. This is Douglas Hogg, who's a former Tory MP who quit the Commons over an expenses claim for his moat. If you remember when all the expenses was out.
He's a disgraced. So he's a disgraced politician. Disgraced. He's been proved to be dishonest. He made a claim on his expenses that was not legit. So now he's been rewarded with a salary and a place in the House of Lords. So not only is he now on the state's payroll out of our taxation, he is also helping to govern the country because all bills can't become laws until they go through the Commons and then they have to go through the House of Lords, which is the upper house. Not a single person in the upper house is elected. And a lot of the people that have now been appointed to this upper house, 45 extra new, I think this is the most they've ever had in there. There are now more people in the House of Lords than in the House of Commons.
831.
Yeah, way more than in the House of Commons. None of them elected. Some of them, in fact, many of the new ones, are politicians who lost their seats in the last general election. They are people that the electorate in a so-called democracy said, we do not want these people to represent us in Westminster. The people said, we do not want them. They voted them out. Now they have been placed in the upper house in a more important position than the one we, as the electorate, said we didn't want them in the first place. This is complete nonsense, and we're paying them. Complete nonsense and madness. If anybody thinks we live in a democracy, they are deluded.
The thing about this now is it makes the House of Lords the second biggest legislative chamber in the world.
In the world.
After the Chinese National People's Congress.
In the world.
In the world.
And China's got the population to justify a big one. We don't. We're like, what is it, a fifth of the population of the United States, yet we have a much bigger upper house. In fact, their upper house, the Senate, is actually elected. That is a democracy. Australia's upper house, even though it's a Westminster system, the upper house, the Senate, is elected. They are democracies. We are not in a democracy. When you vote somebody out of the House of Commons because you don't want them in government, and then the government appoints them in the upper house, you have the complete opposite to a democracy.
There are some mornings when you come in and look at the news and you just think, what? Really? One of the stories is Corbyn's coffee cup selling on eBay for £51. This is Jeremy Corbyn, Labour leadership candidate. It's been sold on eBay for just over £50. It was given to a coffee seller in Nottingham before being placed on the auction site. There's clearly a demand for used goods.
This is a paper cup, then?
This is a paper cup. That's not the bizarrest story of the day.
Well, because I'm just thinking, coffee cup, £51. That's not far off what Starbucks charge, actually, for a cup of coffee.
The other one is Carol Vorderman.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen this story about her?
It's a disturbing story, isn't it? She tweeted something that had more information than we needed.
Yeah, absolutely. She's revealed that she's covered in burns after falling off a treadmill. Nothing bizarre about that. But while running naked. She tripped while using the machine and ended up trapped naked against a wall. And she immediately took to Twitter to tell people about it.
Now, why would you run naked on a treadmill? Because I'm thinking, she's a lady as well. There's a thing called a sports bra that was invented for a reason. I think the Spice Girls sung about it in that song, Two Become One. It was invented for a reason.
Yes.
So if you're going to run naked, it's going to cause some problems, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Of course, the real victims here are all the other people in the gym.
Bob's Breakfast.